So why don't we get us started? Thank you so much for joining us for January's edition of the Women's Empowerment Principle 101 webinar. And Happy New Year. I hope 2023 is treating you well so far. My name is Miwa Park, and I am the WEPs coordinator at the Women's Empowerment Principles Global Secretariat at the UN Women. I'll be moderating the event today. Then I'll briefly introduce the team that's behind the WEPs. Then we will hear opening remarks from UN Women. And after the remark, you will learn about the 7 principles of the WEPs and the resources and tools available for the WEPs signatories. After this backdrop, we will then invite representatives of 3 WEPs signatories to share their WEPs journey. So please stay tuned until the very end. Before I go ahead and introduce my colleagues, I'd like to let you know that we'd love to hear from you. Throughout the webinar, please feel free to write your questions to the panelists in the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. And if you'd like to communicate with other participants, please use the chat function. I see many people are using the chat function, so we can see many people are pretty familiar with that technology. So your question will be answered during the Q&A session or the chat throughout the webinar. Also, please note that this webinar is being recorded and later will be uploaded to our website to share with general public. So let me introduce to the WEPs team. So the WEPs Secretariat sits under UN Women. We have Anna Faltz, the Global Head of WEPs Secretariat, and myself from the UN Women. And then from UN Global Compact, we have Cynthia Mufa, Head of Human Rights and Gender, and Lina Al-Qadomi, Manager of Gender Equality and Sustainability. And Lina will walk us through the 7 principles of WEPs later on. So to get us started, I'd like to invite Anna to deliver her opening remarks. Anna, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Miwa. I will be very brief today. Because we have some exciting panelists that will be sharing their experiences with being a WEPs signatory and what they've been doing since they joined. So we want to give them sufficient time to share and for you to also learn from them and ask them questions in the Q&A towards the end of the webinar. But first of all, I'd like to, on behalf of UN Women and UN Global Compact, I want to wish you welcome to this webinar, but also Happy New Year, and wishing you and your companies and families a very productive 2023. So we have these WEPs 101 webinars on a frequent basis. Every quarter we get together. There's a lot of demand to join the WEPs, and this session is meant to give you a broader and deeper understanding on what the WEPs principles are about and what we offer as a WEPs initiative in terms of engagement opportunities, in terms of resources and tools for you to advance on the gender equality agenda. And we have approximately 100 companies that are joining us every month. And we are very excited that this agenda is picking up, that more and more companies are paying attention to gender equality. And we ask ourselves, and you may ask yourself, why is that? But there is a lot of benefits from advancing gender equality and women's empowerment within the private sector, in the workplace, marketplace, and community, which are the 3 pillars of the WEPs initiative. We have a lot of help in recent years from a number of different stakeholders that are putting pressure on companies to pay attention to gender equality, diversity, inclusion, and women's empowerment. But there is also risks of not taking action. If there is risk of lawsuits, if there are risk of sexual harassment or other harassment cases, and not taking action on those have big risk to companies. So they're both benefits and risk. And what we are doing as UN Global Compact and UN Women is then to help you navigate this space of benefits and risks and help you formulate action plans and understand better what are the actions that generate the most results. And that's why we have these webinars, and we bring together companies that are sharing their stories. So these good practices are helping you and us to navigate this space of benefits and risks. But also because we are offering this network of web signatories. Today we have more than 7,400 companies that have joined us from more than 150 countries. We are looking to have more events in 2023 to kind of bring you together with the companies, learn from each other. And if you have ideas, I think Miwa will share with you towards the end the email address where you can also propose different ideas on how you would like to be engaged with the companies and with UN Women and the UN Global Compact. And today we will go through some of the resources and tools that we're offering, and also one tool that is going to be launched later on in the month that I think you will benefit from. So I will be very brief here and stop, and I'll return once we have our three speakers later on after the general introduction of the WEPs initiative. So back to you, Miwa. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anna. Now I'd like to invite Lina to walk us through the 7 principles of the WEPs. Lina, over to you.
Thank you so much, Miwa, and thank you for the introduction, Anna. Very nice to be here today. Again, my name is Lina Al-Qadoumi, and I'm the Gender Equality Manager at UN Global Compact, one of the 2 members of the Secretariat for the WEPs, and we're very happy to walk you through the principles. So to start, the principles are holistic and are meant to be enacted all together and in no particular order or in any prioritization at all. And more information on all 7 principles that I'll be walking us through are to be found on the WEPs website, which is weps.org. I'm sure Miwa will share it shortly. So the first principle that we will go through, it's on establishing high-level corporate leadership for gender equality. So corporate leadership is an integral part of making gender equality and women's empowerment a top strategic priority. It publicly signals that CEOs and their executive team's goals and targets for implementing the WEPs, and how the 7 principles will become part of the corporate sustainability strategy, day-to-day operations, and organizational culture. Setting the tone from the top is critical to drive action throughout the organization. And by signing the CEO statement of support to the WEPs, business leaders send an important message to employees, to customers, investors, business partners, and other stakeholders that advancing gender equality is a company priority with top-level support. They also communicate that gender equality is not just a woman's issue. Rather, it's a smart business strategy that will strengthen the organization and benefit everybody. So moving on to the second principle, it's to treat all women and men fairly at work without discrimination. This is not only a moral necessity, but it's also good for business. Having equal treatment between women and men in the workplace translates to better talent acquisition, higher employment retention and satisfaction, and increased productivity and better decision-making. And now this is even more important given the pandemic's disproportionate impact on women. We've already seen the economic gender gap grow to 151 years, or almost 5 generations. It'll take 5 generations to close the economic gender gap. We've also seen, though, with COVID, the fair treatment extends beyond equal pay and includes a variety of other aspects related to work, including flexible working arrangements, inclusive workplace culture, and gender-sensitive recruitment and retention policies, among many, many other things. Principle 3 of the WEPs focuses on employee health, well-being, and safety, physical, emotional, and mental well-being included. Of course, it's important to make sure that there's no sexual harassment or violence in a company, as this can not only be devastating to employees' overall well-being, but can also result in high costs to women in terms of lost earnings, missed promotions, and less productivity and courage at work. Policies in line with Principle 3 include safety measures against potential physical risks, such as harmful chemicals or materials, as well as preventing all forms of violence and sexual harassment at work and ensuring all employees equal access to health insurance. Moving on to Principle 4. This principle covers education and training for career advancement. It's important that companies have offer trainings for all employees, not just HR or other sustainability departments. And that the training covers how the company is advancing gender equality to better align everyone around shared values and help ensure compliance with company policies and practices. It's also important to have networking and mentoring programs for women employees, especially in male-dominated fields. And actually, we have a platform for WEPs signatories called WEPs Learn, and this includes personal development modules that can be used by women to advance professional skills. But my colleague Miwa can speak to this and other resources about the specific principle in a bit. Principle 5 focuses on the workplace, or moves from focusing on the workplace to the marketplace. So this one focuses more on enterprise development in the marketplace and supply chain, and also covers marketing practices. This principle is really supposed to focus on the company's reach beyond its own offices and its own employees by focusing on its interactions with customers, suppliers, and other businesses. So, for example, suggested actions with Principle 5 include removing harmful gender-based stereotypes in all media and advertising, implementing gender-responsive procurement practices, helping women overcome barriers in accessing financial services, and more. And I believe Miwa will be sharing a gender-responsive procurement tool that her team has developed as well later on in the presentation. Moving on to Principle 6. This moves us into more of the community-focused principle by empowering women through community initiatives and advocacy. It's really important to realize that a business's reach extends just beyond just its business practices. Employees are living in a community, and company policies and practices affect employees and their families outside of the workplace and extending beyond business practices. So this principle encourages companies to advance gender equality by leading by example among businesses, working with community stakeholders and officials, and using philanthropy and grants programs to support community initiatives. And finally, the last principle is Principle 7, focusing on measuring and reporting. A common theme we see in our work with companies on advancing gender equality is the commitment being in place, but lacking the actions needed to make impact on this commitment. As we are in the decade of action on closing the Sustainable Development Goals, I think Principle 7 is super important as it encourages companies to measure progress on these commitments and public reporting, holding companies accountable in making lasting progress. It also highlights the importance of collecting sex disaggregated data to provide a better understanding of how women are differently impacted across the workplace. So this was a brief overview of the 7 principles, and I'm sure Miwa will point you towards even more resources that will help drive each of these 7 principles in your workplace, marketplace, and community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lena, for your wonderful explanation about the principle. Let me take it over from this part now. So joining the WEPs is a simple process. You are eligible if your company is legally registered and for-profit company. We are accepting Chamber of Commerce, Business Association, and Industry Association as well, but these are exceptions. Unfortunately, we're not accepting NGOs and other non-profits at this point of time. And once you have confirmed your eligibility, you can go to www.weps.org/join website and then fill out the form and submit the form. The form is pretty self-explanatory, and you need to provide the information requested in each section. But there are a few things I like to emphasize when it comes to filling out the form. So first, the CEO statement of support needs to be signed with the date by the CEO or the person with highest decision-making authority in your company. The date is important because this date will be the date that shows up on your profile page as the date of your company that joined the WEPs. And the CEO statements need to be signed by the highest decision-making authority, and that person is generally the CEO. That's why we call this form CEO Statement of Support, but that person could be managing director, chairman, and etc. Just keep in mind that the idea here is to get the buy-in from the highest decision maker of the company. Then for the CEO quote, we would like for you to answer, how will you contribute to gender equality? And then tell us why this agenda matters to you and your company. And maybe share how you've been doing or how you are planning to work on gender equality. And lastly, CEO photo is also important. We only accept professional headshots and no logo picture is accepted. And if you want to learn more about the eligibility criteria, steps to joining the WEPs, please visit our website. And on the join page, you'll find answers to most of your questions. Moving on, this is the WEPs journey. So you may be here in considering stage or even reactivating, thinking about signing the WEPs and participating in this webinar. So once you have signed up and you're approved, you will reach the second step in the WEPs journey, the activate stage, where we encourage you to develop the company's gender equality action plan to start your company's journey towards advancing gender equality and women's empowerment. So, I mean, this may sound like a challenging and difficult journey, and that's why we are here at the Secretariat to help you. So we offer over 200 tools that can help your WEPs journey. So we have various case studies, templates, thematic guides, learning modules, and others that help you to be one step closer to your gender equality goal. And all these tools are available for free on our website. And many of you so these are some examples of some tools that we have. And many of you be interested in setting up gender equality action plan and tools, and that helps your company to develop a gender action plan. So these are some steps that I am presenting to you today. So first, we recommend you to take the WEPs Gender Gap Analysis tool. It's consisted of 18 multiple choice questions that covers commitment to gender equality strategy, equal pay, recruitment, supporting parents and caregivers, women's health, inclusive sourcing, and advocacy for gender equality and communities of operation. And you can use this tool to assess the company's strategic approach to gender equality, identify gaps and opportunities for continuous improvement, and learn about the best practices on gender equality globally. And more importantly, with the result, you can set concrete goals and targets and measure progress over time on your way toward gender equality. So the tool is available on WEPs-gapsanalysis.org website, which is also accessible through WEPs.org website. And then we recommend you to utilize the Gender Action Plan module that's available on WEPs Learn website. And this module is specifically designed to help you to develop a gender action plan that suits your company's situation. And then you have WEPs Learning Hub that Lina briefly mentioned that helps your pathway to success and grow more capacity. And then today I'd like to introduce a new tool that will be available very soon to all WEPs signatories. The tool is called the Gender Responsive Procurement Assessment Tool. The tool will be only visible to the WEPs signatories, unlike the other tools that we have on our website. So once you become a signatory and create a login credential and sign in, you will be able to take this tool. So this tool is aligned with the WEPs principle number 5 that Lina had explained earlier. So our Asia Pacific team had developed this tool. I want to give them credit to allow companies to access their current progress on policies and practices on gender responsive procurement. So gender responsive procurement is about purchasing from gender responsive firms, such as WEPs signatories or women-owned businesses. So it's about making supply chain more inclusive. It's a strategic approach to advancing gender equality among your suppliers. and to open up opportunities for women-owned businesses to be part of global supply chain. So please stay tuned. This tool should be available very soon. So I hope our overview of the principles and the tools were helpful for you. And again, you can access our tools on our website. We also feature blogs, events, and more on our website. So please visit often. I'm now going to hand over the floor to Anna again for the roundtable of web signatories. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miwa and Lina, for this introduction to the WEPs and the resources that we offer our signatories. There's a lot of questions about the meeting being recorded and sharing of the slides, and you will find it on our website under resources sometime at the end of this week. But now I'm very excited to introduce our three representatives from web signatory companies. We have Rasha Lasvi from Andersen Global in Jordan. We have Jonida Lakurkiri from Vodafone Albania, and Gabriela Tonon from Sylvamo in the US, but based in Brazil. So welcome to this discussion. I'm very excited to hear from you, and I'm sure that our audience is as well. So I will ask each of you to just briefly introduce yourself and the company that you represent. And we'll start with Gabriela. Over to you, Gabriela.
Thank you, Anna. Hello, everybody. I am Gabriela Tanon. I am the ING Global Manager at Sylvamo. I'm also Talent Management Manager in Brazil. I'm located in Brazil, but for ING, I work globally. Sylvamo is the world's paper company. We produce uncoated sheet paper. We employ about 6,000 employees around the world. Our headquarters is in Memphis, United States, but we also have operations in North America, Latin America, Europe, and Asia. Our company is committed with the success of the entire ecosystem, and I'm glad to be here with you today.
Thank you, Gabriela. We'll move over to Jonida.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me today. It's amazing to be with all of you. And this is thanks to UN and technology. My name is Jonida Lakurkiri, the Director of Legal, Public Policies and External Affairs at Vodafone Albania. Vodafone Albania is part of Vodafone Group, a leading technology company in Europe and Africa, keeping society connected and building a digital future. I am also a chairwoman of Vodafone Albania Foundation, which is committed to connect for good, combining Vodafone technology and charitable giving to address some of the world's most pressing issues, including women empowerment at the workplace and community.
Thank you, Jonida. Rasha?
It's a pleasure to be with all of you. So my name is Rasha Lasvi. I'm the Office Managing Director of Andersen in Jordan. I'm also a board member of Andersen Global, one firm. We provide tax and legal services in 390 locations spread over 170 countries. We all believe in women empowerment and have a very significant percentage of women partner over Andersen Global and around 50% of women in Jordan. So we're very happy to be part of WEPs, proud of it, actually.
Thank you. So maybe, Rasha, you could continue and tell us briefly, I have three questions. What motivated your company to sign on to the WEPs? Why is it important for your company to be a WEP signatory? And what value add have you experienced being a WEP signatory? I think that would be very helpful for those in the audience that are considering signing on to the principles.
So we were lucky to be invited to an event held by UN Women and WEPs in Jordan towards the end of 2021. Of course, when they explained the principles for us, it was not a question whether or not to join. And I think any company that does not join immediately, their commitment is questionable. So this is a statement, a testament of our commitment to gender equality, women empowerment, and leadership. And as a co-founding female partner, it's my duty to walk the talk. You can easily say that we do believe in women empowerment, but what do you actually do to achieve that? So that was basically the very first start of the relationship. But we did not expect the value that we have received through the network, the level of engagement, the involvement. WEPs Jordan, Layla immediately engaged all of us in choosing the themes for 2022. If I remember correctly, we chose leadership and workplace. The interaction, the value, all of it has added to our knowledge because there was a lot of knowledge sharing. It's not a one-time exercise you get into. We were asked on a monthly basis to participate and to share our knowledge. Each member was presented with an opportunity to engage and present during the monthly meetings as well. And we have engaged in one of those. So the value, I think I'll be representing it today, but it was an amazing journey, more than an experience. It was a journey of empowerment throughout 2022.
That's great to hear. Thank you so much, Rasha. And Janida, do you recall the 3 questions? Should I reiterate them?
Fine with me. No need.
Okay.
No need for it, because I can recall very well when Vodafone Albania has signed the WEPs in November 2016. And it was a buzz back in time, because that showed a very high commitment to gender equality and women's empowerment in the workplace, marketplace, and community in Albania. But there was a global corporate context and a local one behind the signature of it. As part of Vodafone Group that we are, the group adheres to 3 purpose pillars that are digital, planet, and inclusion. And inclusion has a specific focus in women empowerment and closing a gender gap that, in fact, is a key indicator of long-term social stability and economic prosperity. This very pillar speaks to pillar number 5 of the UN sustainability goals. And also Vodafone aspiration is to become the world's best employer for women by 2025. In a local context, we know that in developing markets and transition economies like Albania, the gender gap is much sharper compared to developed markets. So we have seen WEPs as an important organizing force to promote greater private sector engagement on women's empowerment, to share and scale best practices. Because usually WEPs has been seen as within the scope of NGOs that promote the women empowerment. With the private sector, we'll lag a bit behind. So it was very important in terms of substance, but as well of the message that we have given to the society and to the private sector as well. In terms of the value added, definitely it has been a value added. Since joining the WEPs, we have seen an empowerment and advancement of women across our organization. And this was thanks to the full commitment that we pledged to the cause. It was a framework that it helped us to integrate the principles and to design an ecosystem where we would embed or our action plan and to monitor it across our journey. So beside that, we have creatively used this principle as a guidance to progressively move from the ambition to action on the sustainability front.
Great. Thank you so much. And I think that full commitment is important to gather. Miwa was showing the WEPs journey earlier, and the first stage is to gather that kind of internal buy-in. and it's very important to have that. So thanks very much for this contribution. We'll move on to Gabriela.
Yeah, thank you. Well, we just signed the compromise a few months ago, and I think I will focus on the why we decided to become a signature. So first of all, we believe in the power of inclusion and diversity. It's in everything we do. We believe in the impact to the community around us, to the customers we have, and the future we want to foster as a more inclusive, and we can foster a great future being more inclusive and diverse. Our 2030 goals shows our compromise in this matter. We focus also in thriving people in communities. And when it comes to inclusion and diversity, we aim to represent the community we live and to promote diversity of thought and foster a workplace where people can express their opinions safely and openly. And this also means a compromise to close the gender gap. So it all fits together. Although we've been giving some important steps and overcoming some barriers, we are in the industry, so there are some barriers we are overcoming with the discussions we've been having. Being part of WEPs network will allow us to share experience amongst other learn from other companies, also learn from the resources we have, and we are excited to co-create the future we want to see with all other companies who are already signature of WEPs. One more thing I would like to mention is that we just signed the compromise, as I said, but it's important to highlight how much connected the 7 principles are with everything that we already do and say and things that we believe. So it was very natural to everyone we presented WEPs to sign this compromise, from the CEO to the senior lead team to our IND council and any other stakeholder inside Sylvamo who we discussed. It made sense to everybody to sign the compromise and learn with others and really co-create this future we want to see.
Thank you so much, Gabriela. We'll move over to the next question that is about the status of your company on the WEPs implementation. Knowing, Gabriela, that you recently joined, but also that we heard that the WEPs aligns very much to what your companies are already doing and the values that you have. On that, we welcome any company to join, whether you have done something prior to joining or not. So either it can be a confirmation of the commitment to gender equality, or it can be the launch pad and the starting point to work on gender equality. So we welcome any company. There was a question in the chat earlier, whether you need to follow the particular path outlined by Lina and the example that she provided. There is no kind of prescribed path for any of the companies. We know that you are unique and that your company might have low-hanging fruits in one particular area and it would take you longer to work on other areas. So we are very flexible. We are here to support, and you can start with principle 7 or you can start with principle 2. As long as you are taking action, we are happy to support. So we'll start with Jonida on the status of your company's WEPs implementation, and how have the WEPs helped you advance gender equality in the workplace, marketplace, and community? Over to you, Jonida.
Yeah, thank you. I think that we have done some good progress in the implementation of the WEPs. And we have been focused on several moments that are very important to the women. I would start with the maternity, that represents a significant inflection point for many women, and a lack of support through pregnancy and childbirth, and the challenge of balancing childcare with working life accounts for the departure of large number of women from the workplace. And women often experience difficulties in rejoining the workforce after taking a career break to bring up children or support their family. Others may return to work but find fewer opportunities for promotion and progression than their male counterparts. This is a lost opportunity, and throughout my career, I've seen a lot to happen in this regard. So we have started from that, and we are very proud to share with you that we are a pioneer in Albania to adopt the Vodafone Group groundbreaking policy on maternity and paternity leave that gives both the mother and the father, both parents, a full paid 16 weeks for maternity and parental leave. And parental leave is extended to 18 months time if requested. And this is paired with the opportunity of women when they come back to have a hybrid way of working and flexible working arrangements. This has helped a lot and was very well accepted and had a huge impact on the workforce and the women, those talented women that were looking forward to come back and to catch up with the work and their career path and to balance their life and work. Just to give you an example, I have one of my team, the lawyers of my team. He is a new father since 3 months, and he has taken his parental leave. And we are happy to have this opportunity to apply in the first place. And he's so grateful. And during this period of time, he has been offered to work from home as well. So this is one of the examples that this makes the employees, the women and men also, the partner of women, to feel better and motivated to work more and to contribute to the companies. Also, we have adopted Reconnect, which is the program that brings skilled women back into the workforce after the career break. That includes training, coaching, induction programs to refresh and enhance the professional skills. I would put an emphasis on the quantitative and quality representation. We implement gender-sensitive recruitment and retention practices in order for women not only to participate in a sector that it is very male-dominant, such as technology and telecommunication, but also to have a quality representation of them at the executive level. There is a target at Vodafone Group to reach 40% women participation and 35% at senior position. Happy to share that Vodafone Albania has reached and succeeded that target. The EXCO team is composed, I'm part of it, the 50% of women participation, and we're looking forward to further progress on that. Also, important policies on health and safety for women, the fair pay policy as well, are some, let's say, key milestone of our journey towards the WEPs implementation. We have done, there is work that is done and is done in a proper way, but the journey is long and we're looking forward to more interesting programs towards that direction.
Thank you so much. And this is a very important area of to focus on, retention of women, particularly after parental leave, where most women that are exiting the labor market, that's the timing that we see them leave the labor market. So very important efforts. We'll move on to Russia. If you could talk a little bit about the WEPs implementation and where you are, and some of the more kind of impactful actions that you've taken.
So as I mentioned, since we were focusing on leadership and workplace, a lot of efforts focused on the empowering our junior team. So a lot of them have been attending actually the WEPs event, interacting with other members, listening and engaging to understand what kind of experiences we are learning from. As you may be aware, different companies have different structures. Some companies could be manufacturing, working 24 hours. Safety is more important for women workers at night. Some could be male dominant, some could be female dominant. So even one of the WEP signatories in Jordan is a company that teaches women to do plumbing. So there were lots of inspiring events during 2022 to engage our team in a way to show them how powerful they are, not they can be, they already are, and how to take it a step further. Also, in the line of our work, I don't know to what extent our attendees realize that the compliance issue depends also on gender equality and treating women fairly and having non-discriminatory policies in place. So we've applied WEPs on our company and beyond. Our clients, we've shared with them WEPs, and we told them, we encouraged them to participate and to sign. When we looked at their code of conduct, we've advised them and provide them with the link to WEPs and told them that this is a very valuable resource for them to educate themselves or to do proper implementation. The devil is in the details. Sometimes when you say, like, I want to create a safe environment, do you have the necessary knowledge to do that? And this is where WEPs comes in, provides toolkits, provides the knowledge, the resources. You cannot really underestimate the power of knowledge. And the effort that has been put in these resources have been magnificent and has been very hands-on and practical. So we've seen firsthand how useful these resources were. We have managed to learn from them, tap into them, and also guide our clients into looking at these and knowing that proper implementation is what leads to success. And the compliance, again, it's very important to do proper compliance. Many companies are suppliers of multinationals. Multinationals today could do a due diligence on you. Our firm, we're a law firm. We have our own code of conduct. We are supposed to follow a lot of regulations. That did not prevent us from going under due diligence. Part of our multinationals required us to go through that to ensure that we are following proper policies in Andersen. And that's something that's implemented on a lot of companies. So today it's important to commit to gender equality, but you have to realize as well that this will be a requirement by the companies working with you. They will not give you your money if you're not committed. So this is very important for us to know. And WEPs is an enabler. It provides you with all the knowledge you need without wasting your own resources.
Thank you so much, Rasha, and for bringing up this point on compliance. I think there is a lot to be said about the accountability to gender equality, both upstream and downstream. And I think that's why we are fostering this network to support each other and I've seen that there's also a number of NGOs that we hope can carry this agenda of how important it is to implement gender equality practices and how we can hold each other to account and providing incentives for our stakeholders to do so. So thanks for that. Gabriella, over to you.
Yes, well, I'm excited with everything we can learn from other companies and who are also compromised with gender equality, also from the resource you have available. You just mentioned the purchasing one, and I was already excited because we are discussing a more global supplier diversity program, for example. So maybe this is something that can help us. I believe it will help us, like learning from other companies who are having those discussions will help us to move in a faster pace, getting to know from different sources, maybe some similar industries, other companies who also have production area, women in the shop floor, discussing maternity and paternity as it was just said. So those are the things we are excited about. We have some learning journeys here, for example, unconscious bias, inclusion and collaboration for all employees. but what else can we provide in terms of learning and development? Also, retention is something that we are very often discussing, how we can retain more, how we can attract and retain. We are right now, we have our first employee inclusion networks for women. So what are the resources that can help us to leverage this initiative? This is like something global. We have employee inclusion networks for all the regions. Again, women in the shop floor, in the production area. We in Brazil, we have a mentoring program for women, but what can we learn from other companies and resources? What are the best practices? What are the best practices related with policies? So I've heard a lot of these things coming from my colleagues in this webinar today. So those are the things I'm pretty sure will benefit from this partnership.
Thank you so much, Gabriela. So we have received a number of questions. Some of we have already responded to in the chat, which is more about the recording of this session and who is eligible, etc. But we have some questions specifically for our panelists. I will read 3 questions and you can then decide which one is the most relevant to you. One question is about this, I think Russia was touching upon it a little bit about the accountability, but what kind of pressure does your company is under? What is the pressure that you feel coming from different stakeholders and that are helping you as the leader in your company for this agenda to advance the commitment to gender equality, whether it's investors, customers, talent? We heard about the business partners earlier. So it would be interesting to hear a little bit more about that. There was also a question that gender equality is not only the responsibility of women in the company to kind of create change. So what role do we see for men? And if you could share a little bit of experience on how men have been engaged and how you're engaging men in your companies, so that it becomes a shared agenda between women and men and other genders. And finally, there was a question about the direct benefits of advancing gender equality to the company's bottom line and to the revenue. Have you already observed anything? Do you have statistics on it? Anything that can help this person to get this point through in her or his company? So we'll start with, who wants to start?
Well, I can start because there are 2 things. It came to me when you were reading this. First, about accountability. Inclusion and diversity is something that is part of who we are. So this is coming from the CEO, all the leaders, and that helps a lot for us to advance in this matter because it is a priority to us and it is a priority to every employee we have at Sylvamo. So again, having the leadership committed with us help us to advance. And again, it's part of who we are. It's part of our core values. It's part of who Sylvamo really is and what we want to create to our future. We do have some, we have some forums. So we have the IND Global Council that help us to keep the conversation going. We have a senior vice president as the sponsor of this council. We also have inclusion and diversity representatives in each region. Each of them holds their region accountable somehow. So we have councils in some of the regions. We have a group of people having those discussions in other regions. So that helps to keep everyone accountable. Again, part of our priorities. And the other thing that I would like to share is about how we see men in this conversation, because we need men in this conversation. To advance, we need all people in this conversation. So the way we've been keeping everyone engaged with us is again, we have the employee inclusion networks we are kicking off right now that will provide us some information. The employee inclusion networks are for all. It's not restricted for women, but it is to discuss the gender equality. So all employees are invited to join. We've been having some conversation with employees all around the world. We have some webcasts, internal webcasts. We have people who naturally advocate about gender equality, and we bring them to talk about the advantages of this. We have some round tables to discuss gender equality, again, bringing men, women, and non-binary, everybody to this conversation, because it is important for everybody to find solutions. It is, and by discussing gender equality, we know that we make it a better workplace to all. So we close the gap, and we also find ways to improve to all. So those are the things I would like to share.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Gabriela.
I would like to add, to share my experience on that. I completely agree with Gabriela that sometimes it starts a censorship from us, because we tend to invite women, because we see this is something that we address. And the first one that comes to my mind is another woman to talk about women and women in general empowerment. We have started some town halls in Albania, in Vodafone, to talk about this topic. The first one was about women participation, all women participation. The second one was a male speaker. The third one, we have seen more participation from men. So I think that the more we discuss, the more we are inclusive, and the changes start from ourselves, the more we are going to have an inclusive discussion and implementation, because for sure men are going to play a very important role in this journey as partner, not as a policy maker for women or decision taker. It takes two to a tango. So the more we talk, the more we include them, the more we demystify that this is a thing of women only.
Thank you so much, Janida. And Rasha, do you have something to add to this as well?
Yes, of course, I couldn't agree more with both Gabriela and Unida. Beautifully said. But one thing, for example, the person who asked about the revenue, there are certain programs where there are donors, international donors, and you could tick a box if it's 50% plus owned by women or managed by women, you would get an advantage over other suppliers. So again, you may not see it immediately in front of you. It depends where you are as a company today and what kind of activity you're undertaking. But when you do apply proper measures like this, you get better opportunities with certain donors or certain multinationals. Also, it's supposed to impact your retention rate of your employees. Turnover, we all know that it has a very negative impact on the company. So when you provide all these work conditions, women are going to prefer to work for your company. And as Unida gave an example for men as well, gender equality, it didn't say women equality. So all these tools would support your growth as a company. Don't underestimate it. And I do believe personally that we're going from voluntary into compulsory. So it's better for you to join now and to start capacity building and building the awareness among your team, as opposed to suddenly finding yourself in a position that you have to implement something and you need to do it very fast. It's better to do it properly and slowly and allow everybody to absorb the concepts properly. And you must be aware of the importance of codes of conduct and suppliers' code of conduct. So gender equality is part of that normally, and the safe workplace is part of that normally. So all this would have an impact on the growth of your institution. And somebody mentioned something about coaching, I think, in the questions. So for us, the practicalities of these principles is as important as the explanation or the meaning or the description of them. So when Unida gave examples, when Gabriella gave examples, this is where it teaches you how you to implement new ideas in your own company. And doing the monthly meetings with the other WEP signatories in Jordan helped us immensely. Everybody was contributing new ideas. Everybody was very proactive. And maybe it's not in a sense coaching, but the knowledge sharing is very important and has had a very positive impact on all of us as signatories. And it has built the relationship and allowed us to develop together during this journey. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rasha. And I also mentioned that in my introduction at the beginning of the webinar, the importance of that kind of incentives and pressure coming from our stakeholders. And you mentioned the retention rate, which has enormous cost of losing talent. And you talked about the opportunities as suppliers. So it's a lot of opportunities, increasing opportunities to also not only being a woman owned and woman-led enterprise, but also companies that have gender practices in place. And we heard that earlier as well. But I think one stakeholder that is contacting us a lot are investors. Investors are also increasingly looking into this. So if your business is planning to expand and looking for funding for the expansion and growth of the company, this has become key to investors as well. We are moving towards the end and we just have actually 1 minute left, but I will ask each of you to briefly just outline your top recommendation for companies in the audience today interested in joining and signing on to the Women's Empowerment Principles. So very briefly, we can start since I have you on screen, Rasha, and then we have Janida and Gabriella.
So please sign, whoever has not signed. I've seen some comments like, can we access the materials? It's very important to engage fully, to be able to benefit fully. It's not just the resources and the toolkits and the information on the website. The WEPs team have actively worked with us last year to support with the journey, with the different tools, with the different principles, and it's just different. It's different. And I know that all of us want to have a better workplace condition in our companies, and the productivity would increase, and the stability and the retention. The value is so high. I hope that you will all join WEP Signatory and be part of our journey, mutual journey, just to empower each other, all of us.
Thank you. Janida?
First, I would strongly recommend for you to sign for all those companies that are interested. Beyond that, see WEPs not as it's good to be there, good to be part, but as a real value added to the business. As member of WEPs, we see ourselves that this has helped us a lot and has brought a lot of value to us. But besides that, you are going to have an entire global business community and network that is going to be a value added to your business as well.
Thank you. And Gabriella?
Well, as said by Janida and also Rasha, sign, I think as much people in this conversation, the better. We have to have discussions about gender equality to advance. So yeah, I think that's it. Let's bring the difficult conversation to this network and find ways to advance.
Great, thank you so much. And thanks everyone. We are closing now. So I would like to thank everyone, UN Global Compact and Lina and Miwa for organizing the webinar, for our panelists for having shared excellent experiences and recommendation to our participants, and of course to our participants for having been so active and asking such great questions. So I have put in the chat a link to our event page. Please join us in our next webinar focusing on how legislation is advancing gender equality in the private sector. So thanks everyone, have a great day, and thanks particularly for those that joined from very far away in a different time zone, evening and nighttime. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great one.